Hello, my name is Jeff Sousa, and I would like to introduce you to the wonderful history of third parties in American politics. While these diverging groups rarely win elections, they have most definitely left a lasting impact on the path of American politics. They are often created to express the feelings of oppressed minorities who want to change America in some way. These parties experience varying amounts of success, but always seem to leave a lasting impact on the surrounding political scene. Many of these tertiary political parties have been long forgotten, but the most important ones have left a lasting legacy that can still be seen today in America. In this nation, it doesn't take a political victory to change things, but instead a strong-willed group of people looking to make an impact. Let's take a look at the first American third political party, the Anti-Masonic Party. This party was founded on the single interest of countering Freemasonry. Americans at the time strongly opposed Masons, as many feared their secretive powers. This fear escalated when William Morgan, a former Mason about to release classified information about the society, went missing. No evidence was ever found connecting Morgan's death to the Masons, but sentiment among citizens rose because of this incident. In 1828, William Seward and Thurlow Weed organized the Anti-Masonic Party and elected local and statewide candidates that year. Also, in 1828, Thurlow Weed first published his Anti-Masonic Inquirer from Rochester, New York, largely helping the party spread to neighboring states. The Anti-Masonic Party would grow even further. In 1831, this group held the first American nominating convention in Baltimore, Maryland. At this convention, the Anti-Masons adopted the first American political platform for a party, which all parties have today. Here, the group elected William Wirt, a former U.S. Attorney General, to appear on the presidential ballot in 1832, becoming the first third-party candidate to do so. Wirt won 7.8% of the popular vote and won Vermont's 7 electoral votes. The party dissolved after this election, as many Americans largely found that ridding America of Freemasonry was no longer a primary concern, and voters turned to either the Democratic Party or the newly founded Whig Party. The Anti-Masonic Party was finally finished in 1838 when the terms of anti-Mason governors from Vermont and Pennsylvania ended. Yet in only one decade, the Anti-Masonic Party founded the nominating convention and the party platform, which are standard for parties to have today. This group also succeeded at making Freemasonry less popular. In New York in 1826, Masons numbered around 20,000. Only one decade later, this number dropped to only 3,000. The Anti-Masonic Party, while short-lived, truly showed how much change a third party can make in America, and set the bar for other tertiary parties to come. Our next third party of discussion has similar beginnings to the Anti-Masonic Party. The Anti-Masons grew from general distaste for Freemasons, but the Free Soilers grew from general dislike of slavery. Created on this single interest, the Free Soil Party focused on ridding America of slavery. The ideals of this party were preceded by Representative David Wilmot's Wilmot Proviso, which asked for slavery to be abolished in the new territory America purchased after the Mexican War. This failed in Congress, but Wilmot's belief in abolition would live on. Disappointed by other parties' positions on slavery, politicians met in Buffalo, New York in 1848 to create an anti-slavery political party. In Buffalo, the new party agreed on their shared ideals that would complement their abolitionist policies. These included supporting moderate tariffs and the inclusion of a homestead law which would exempt property owners from paying a property tax. Here, they nominated former President Martin Van Buren as their candidate for the upcoming presidential election. Receiving many votes from anti-slavery Democrats, Van Buren won an impressive 10.1% of the popular vote, but received no electoral votes. In 1853, the first Free Soil Senator, John P. Hale, was nominated as the presidential candidate, but lost while only receiving less than 5% of the popular vote. Although Martin Van Buren and John P. Hale failed to reach the presidency, the legacy of the Free Soil Party derives from the amount of representation and influence they gained in Congress. 16 congressmen were elected into Congress and represented Americans across the country who believed that no person should live in slavery. The Free Soil Party were also successful in the creation of the Republican Party, as many Free Soilers agreed with the ideals of this new party. Even though the party formally dissolved in 1854, many Free Soil congressmen simply switched parties to remain in Congress, so their ideals would still be in power. The Free Soil Party took a giant first step towards Americans' abolition of slavery, and was also a big part in creating the Republican Party that still exists today. Although lasting for only 8 years, the Free Soil Party left a lasting impact on American politics, and its lasting legacy of freedom is still carried on today. After the fall of anti-Masonic and Free Soil parties and the devastating American Civil War, Northern businesses were booming, partly due to the wartime demand of machined goods. However, most of America's West and South did not have this same prosperity in the 1880s. Drought destroyed many wheat crops in the Great Plains, and the price of cotton, a massive cash crop of the South, sunk heavily. The plight of the farmers was not helped by railroad companies that set high prices and grain elevator services that bought at low prices. Farmers in this setting had a poor opinion of large businesses and believed a few wealthy businessmen were greedily profiting off of the work of the many. To fight this injustice, leaders of several farmers' alliances contacted the much larger organization Knights of Labor. Here, they adopted the party's Omaha platform, which pushed for socialism on the basis that all men are created equal. Included in this platform was support for the monetization of silver, destruction of the two-party system, and government ownership of railroads. To organize a fight for these ideals, the Populists had many party conventions in the Midwest, where presidential candidates were chosen. A memorable populist, William Jennings Bryan, was chosen to run for presidency multiple times, but never won substantial votes. Bryan himself did change American politics, as speeches such as the Cross of Gold speech provoked many Americans to think differently about their political world. While not successful in the presidency, the Populist Party placed a dozen governors and over 50 representatives in office. The Populist congressmen asked for two ideas that are still relevant in political discussion today. One is the inclusion of the secret ballot, which ensures that citizens vote in private. The other is a promise from the government that it would not support any private institution, contrasting modern examples of bailouts to financial institutions and automotive companies. If the Populists had not pushed for these ideas, it is likely that American politics would not be very similar to what it is today. Although designed to speak for the farmers of America, the Populist Party changed American politics for all, with speeches, presidential campaigns, congressmen, and any other methods they could. In the early 1970s, many Americans felt that their freedoms and rights were being marginalized by the government they had trusted to protect them. Military conscription in Vietnam was on the rise, the gold standard was removed, and President Nixon released his plan for a war on drugs. David Nolan, a Colorado business person enraged by Nixon's economic controls, wanted change. Inspired by other state-based libertarian parties, he founded the Committee to form a Libertarian Party in early 1971. 7 months later, this 8-person team launched the Libertarian Party to fight for minimum government, maximum freedom, as their mantra reads. Generally, the Libertarian Party fought for a government that would not be overbearing on its citizens. The party strongly opposes drug prohibition and gun control. Holding a non-interventionist foreign policy plan, they believe it is crucial to stay out of the affairs of other countries, and also condemns America's current policy of preemptive warfare. In 1972, this party held its first national convention. Although the Libertarian Party has been around for 40 years and has not yet had any substantial results in presidential elections, they are the largest third party currently represented in America, having over 250,000 registered voters. Locally, this third party is more successful, having mayors, county executives, and other officials in office. The party has much more room to grow and stands out for voters who aren't satisfied with the political ideas presented by two-party system. Libertarians are continuing a great history of tertiary parties in American politics and have the potential to create a large impact on America. Although less organized, the independent party candidates have had a substantial effect on the history of American politics. The first president in America, George Washington, although technically part of the Federalist Party, refused to affiliate himself with any party. In regards to political parties, Washington argued that it opens the door to foreign influence and corruption, which find a facilitated access to the government itself through the channels of party passions. Thus, the policy and the will of one country are subjected to the policy and will of another. George Washington would likely be proud to see independent candidates run for office. Ross Perot, for example, received a substantial percentage of votes in the 1992 presidential election. Perot won 18.9% of the popular vote, but unfortunately collected no electoral votes. John B. Anderson, an Illinois congressman, won 6.6% of the popular vote in the 1980 presidential election. Certainly far away from winning the presidency, it is clear that Americans are unafraid to vote for who they believe in, even if a victory is unlikely. When not satisfied with the options presented by two major parties, Americans have almost always had a strong alternative to put their vote behind. But these third parties would be nowhere without the support of dedicated American voters, unafraid to leave behind their former political organizations in order to vote for the person they believe is best fit. Voters who decide with careful thought and are not afraid to give their vote to a less popular candidate truly show how important our democracy is. These third parties are not just a choice, they are also a social movement. They are created out of a need for change, whether it be fighting for an end to slavery, monetization of silver, or economic reconstruction. Many of these third parties have left behind a lasting legacy, such as the secret ballot, nominating conventions, and the abolition of slavery. Even when the impacts are less concrete, these third parties have swayed American opinion and brought new ideas into the political scene. So when you, viewer, take a look at a third party on a ballot or in a history book, I hope you don't dismiss them as a political group fighting pointlessly in a two-part system, but instead can see the importance that they have left in this world and the impact that they have had on our political system. My name is Jeff Sousa. Thank you for watching.